Barkley from The Sun, EFL expert, has come to join us here at Oddschecker, and we're going to talk through the Championship, League One and League Two, looking for some value in the markets that you can all find on Oddschecker at oddschecker.com. Starting with the Championship, and no surprise to see a relegated team at the head of the market in Stoke City, who are the 11-2 favourites. Underneath them, you've got Middlesbrough, West Brom, Nottingham Forest, Leeds, Villa, Derby. It looks like quite a strong Championship table. Who do you see being the dominant forces? Who do you think could be a bet to go up?
Yeah, I think it's a bit unlike sort of recent years. We've had Newcastle being overwhelming favourites. I think there's quite a big group of teams that you could pick from, but I think you have to go for Stoke as definitely being in the mix for automatic promotion. I know Gary Rowett's never actually won a promotion, but generally he's overachieved with most of the clubs.
You can almost claim that Burton one, can't
you? Yeah. I mean Burton exactly, and then you look at Birmingham. I mean, you only have to see what's happened since, but. Actually look at the Birmingham squad now on paper, and the players look actually better than when he was at the club. But with Stoke, you just look at some of the signings they've made. Benicofobia should be guaranteed goals in this division. Tom Ince is one of those weird players who doesn't seem to be good enough for the Premier League, but is so good at the Championship if you play him in the right way. Joe Allen, obviously, signing him on to a new contract could be absolutely pivotal, and I think it's hard to look beyond them. After that, it's interesting. Quite a few of these clubs are slightly rolling the dice with some of their managerial choices or some of the players they've picked. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Darren Moore did an unbelievable job beyond the end of last season. He even almost kept them up. I mean, never was going to happen. I remember when Southampton got the result at Swansea, and that was it. But the results at Man United, and I think did he get a draw against Liverpool? It's incredible. But there is such a thing, it's cliche, but as a new manager bounce, that was the ultimate example of it.
Got a big job as well.
We got to see, now he's had a transfer window, what's going to happen now. He's brought in Carl Bartley, I think, from Swansea.
And Sam Johnston as well.
Sam Johnston, I'm a really big fan of. Thought he was fantastic last season for Villa. It's a big loss for Villa. Carl Bartley was very good for Leeds the year before. Not quite sure where he's at now, but it's still, based on his Leeds form, was fantastic. And if they can go and sign Dwight Gale as well, I mean, that's guaranteed goals. Either way, if they can keep Rondon, it looks like that might happen. They're going to be in the mix, but it's just the fact that Darren Moore, long term, we'll wait to see, when the chips are down. It was a free hit to a certain extent, although he absolutely smashed it out of the park. But with them, I think after that, if you're looking for something that's pretty likely is Middlesbrough. Tony Pulis, not everyone's favourite style of football. And when you looked at him when he came in last season, he probably didn't quite have the impact that we would have expected. But he's had his time to work with the team now. He's clearly got he already had a great squad to work with, but he's brought in the likes of Aidan Flint, 6'5" or whatever.
How many goals is he going to score from
absolutely, as you say, I think as a first goal scorer, he's definitely a good shout. Paddy McNair as well is a very talented player, despite what's happened at Sunderland, and obviously a bit of a powerhouse, physicality again in midfield. So I think he's just slowly moulding his Middlesbrough team that he wants, and the lack of clean sheets that we saw, surprisingly, when he came in, because you kind of expected him to have more of a quicker impact. I think that'll happen this season, but you never know, I suppose, based on last season. It's not as much of a guarantee as we thought, but that's where I would be looking. So
we've got Stoke there are 2-1 for promotion. West Brom, as you mentioned, 3-1, and Middlesbrough also 3-1. I think Stoke and Middlesbrough are the two you are most keen on. Stoke are 11-2 to win the league, and Middlesbrough are 17-2. We're now going to have a look at the other end of the table. This is where people watching don't want to hear their team's names read out, and no surprise to see Rotherham and Bolton are the two kind of joint favourites, I guess, at 5-4 and 11-8 to get relegated. Ipswich 7-2, Reading 4-1, QPR 5-1, Hull 5-1. Every year I look at the bottom of the Championship and it looks like every team listed has a fair chance of going down. Where are you looking here for a bit of value?
For value, I'm tempted by QPR to a certain extent, just because they've obviously been hit with this mammoth financial fair play bill, which we knew was coming, but was still, I think, is a really good thing on a side point from the EFL to really. As much as QPR fans don't want to hear this, you need to have these kind of reasons not to break it, because so many clubs have done that, and you can see with the likes of Birmingham and maybe even Sheffield Wednesday, there's a bit of worry there, and you can see how they're not signing any players as a result, and QPR haven't done that for a while. Ian Holloway's gone. I think that was harsh, but knowing Ollie a little bit. Sometimes you don't know whether it was his own decision. I don't know. But
Yeah.
Steve McLaren is someone who has a lot to prove, despite having managed England and managed so many different clubs, but it hasn't gone particularly well in the last few years. He's got this reputation as being a fantastic coach. Everyone who's worked with him always goes on about how much he's a fantastic coach. Almost a cliche now to say it. But actually, if he is that good on the training field, that could be the perfect appointment, because QPR aren't going to be buying many players. They've got a lot of good youngsters like Easy, lots of different players that could coming through that he needs to develop. So maybe that's not a bad shout. But overall, with the lack of investment, that could spur trouble. After that, I mean, Rotherham are an obvious shout. They're a bit like when you look at sort of Cardiff in the Premier League, signing sort of the best of the Championship, knowing that if they do go down, they'll put themselves in a better position. I see similarities when maybe not even the best of League One, but likes of Carl Vassell and Clark Robertson, both from Blackpool. They're signing players like that, and then after that, I'd be a little bit worried if I was Sheffield Wednesday, despite where they were a few years ago. Bolton, I mean, Phil Parkinson pulls off a miracle a lot of the time. Bear in mind their struggles financially. Someone like Erhan Öztürk is such a random signing for a Bolton.
Well, I think he's going to spend half the game just looking in the air.
It probably, because I mean, I'm trying to work out where he'll fit in, but maybe it's all going to work. And then your favourite team, Reading. I have to, we go back to that season where you were quite critical of them. And I think to get to, was it 85 points? And the job they did on Fulham in that semi-final, you have to give credit to them. It can't just be luck.
I agree.
But having said that, last season they showed that perhaps they were performing slightly higher than they should have done. I think they performed a lot worse than they should have done last season, given their squad. And the signings that I've seen come in so far, it's a lot of English know-how, the likes of Sam Baldock. Mark Minotti scored a lot of goals for Coventry, but that's a big step up. But that would be my issue again. Is goals was something that they struggled to come by, and they've gambled in a way on a striker that was doing it in League Two, on a player Sam Baldock who really worked for Brighton, particularly in the Championship, sort of covering for Anthony Knockout, but he didn't score that many goals. He actually did pretty well for him, I thought, in that team goals wise. But I don't think you can rely on him being clinical. So Paul Clement. Yes, I don't think they'll go down, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the mix.
I mean, unsurprisingly, you won't be surprised to hear I am on them to get relegated. And my concern, as you mentioned, McNulty and Baldock could be very good signings for a team who create a lot of chances. I still don't really understand where the chances are going to be from. A lot of pressure on John Swift to create. He's the only person who can do that. I'm fully on board the Reading relegation bus again. Yeah, exactly. A couple of other ones you mentioned there, a bit of a sleeper, I guess. At a double figure price, Sheffield Wednesday are 12-1 to go down. So if you agree with Tom that they're in for another difficult season, a lot of rumours about FFP and not being able to bring players in.
They haven't brought in that many players. Some of the experience they've lost is obvious. Some of the sort of more first-team players have left. Josh Lahukai, who came in back around December when Carlos Carvajal left. There were some games where you thought they were pretty good, but overall I wasn't massively overwhelmed by his impact. He's had longer to work with them. He is quite a disciplinarian. Maybe that's what they need. It's an outside shout. I wouldn't, if I was picking my three favourites, it wouldn't be them. But the same with Birmingham. There's sort of talk today about Gary Monk. Not being particularly happy with their lack of business as well. It's just those kind of things can all sort of gather momentum and in a negative way, and can have a massive impact. So we'll see.
Sheffield Wednesday. Maybe if you didn't want the Buttons to go down, they're even money to get relegated, which could be a good one. Even money to finish in the bottom half, which could be a good one for your Rackers maybe. Before we move on to League One, we're going to have a look at everyone's favourite anti-post market, and that is the top goal scorer market. Benica Fobe is 8-1 favourite, Lewis Graben 14-1, Jay Rodriguez 16-1, although suggestions he may be on his way out of West Brom. Matai Vidra 16-1, Patrick Bamford just gone to Leeds is 20-1. What are you looking at here? Who do you fancy to score a hatful?
I'm not sure I'd hang my hat on any of them every year. Like you think of Matthew Vidra won it last year, but his goal scoring record before then was pretty poor. But the team was so built around him, and he got a lot of confidence. But there was already talk of Derby wanting to let him go. Probably won't happen now because of his wage demands. But does suggest to me that he's not like central to Frank Lampard's plans. So I'm not sure about him. Patrick Bamford had that great season quite a few years ago, but he's not exactly prolific. The one I'd be looking at most is probably Benakofobe, because whilst he's not the most prolific in the Premier League, he generally he has the physicality to make himself chances. He'll have more in this division. He showed in glimpses from the opportunities he was afforded at Wolves, because there weren't that many, because they were doing so well, despite Bonatini not scoring that many goals. He didn't really change it up much. I think he's just got all the attributes to really kick on, and he's in a team now where he's going to be the main man, and Rowett will play to his strengths. Random outside bets, maybe, despite what I said about Mark Minotti.
Yeah.
Mo Issa, maybe?
I completely agree with you. I was about to say 100 to 1
really?
with William Hill, and I think
maybe just worth a punt maybe on that one, because I know obviously Gary Johnson was a big fan, but Lee Johnson's obviously signed him, but there's been a lot of buzz about him, and sometimes you do see those players that kind of come out of nowhere from non-league. I mean, there's so many famous examples over the last few years. I'm not saying he's going to go on to do a Jamie Vardy or an Ian Wright, but he's someone that I'm intrigued to see. Has he got the physicality of the Championship? I don't know.
But I mean, the interesting thing about him is that he scored 25 goals last season, his first season in professional football, and he's going to a team in Bristol City where Bobby Reid had scored 11 career goals before his season last season. And I think Lee Johnson plays a style of football which will suit him. You've also got to think that Zizou is suspended for the first 6 games, which should mean that Issa gets his chance very early on. So just all aboard.
Two others. I think we might not have seen the guy who is going to win it come through yet. I think if Gale does sign for West Brom, I'd heavily fancy him. And then just an outside bet. When you talk about Aston Villa, I mean, now things have changed slightly. It doesn't look like they do have to sell all their players like we thought before. But not that he's been prolific, but he showed glimpses last year. Keenan Davis could be someone to watch out for if he's given a lot more of a chance by Steve Bruce this season. We'll see.
The only other two I'm going to flag up as well, Graben, just because you feel like he's going to be the focal point of this Forest team, and he managed to score 12 goals in 19 games for Sunderland, which I think anyone deserves credit for that at 14 to 1. And also Will Grigg at 66 to 1. He started very, very quickly in the Championship when they were last here a couple of years ago, and then the managerial changes, the Warren Joyce period, and it all slightly fell apart. But I think to judge that he can't score goals at this level based on that may be premature, and I think that Paul Cook will have this Wigan team pretty functional if nothing else.
Yeah, that's right. Paul Cook definitely plays how he's going to play, and it's to get the best out of the likes of Will Grigg. So not bad. Yeah, that's a fair shout.
Enough top goal scorer bets there to really keep you going for the rest of the season. Hopefully, we've picked a couple of winners as well in the promotion and relegation and winner markets.